I recently lost 20 pounds, and a big strategy that I used was making sure that I wasn't feeling hungry. When you're hungry, you're much more likely to snack on foods that are not in line with your goals. And hunger just makes the weight loss process not very fun. But you can achieve weight loss goals without feeling hungry, and that's exactly what I did. So today I'm sharing 10 science-backed ways to stop feeling hungry while on your weight loss journey. Let's dive into it. My name's Autumn. I'm a certified clinical nutritionist with my master's in nutrition human performance, and today's video is sponsored by Kettle and Fire. More on them in a bit. Okay, the first one might seem counterintuitive, but it's to eat 3 big meals rather than 6 small ones. A kind of old school weight loss strategy is to eat 6 small meals throughout the day. The thought was that if you're eating more frequently, then you're not going to feel as hungry. But there's actually studies that have found the exact opposite. In fact, when you eat 3 meals that are satiating and provide all the nutrients that your body needs, you're not going to feel as hungry and you're going to feel much more satisfied from your meals than if those meals are split up into 6. This is probably because you're actually able to fully activate all your satiety hormones from that meal rather than just getting like small little hits of those satiety hormones from each mini meal, making it so that you're never actually full from any given meal when you use the 6 meal strategy. So I personally stuck to 3 protein, fat, and fiber rich meals, which brings me to the second tip, and that's to eat at least 30 grams of protein at each meal. Protein is the most important food when it comes to achieving a weight loss goal, specifically because it's for body recomposition. So it helps your body to lose body fat while maintaining muscle mass. This is important because you don't want to lose muscle mass. Losing muscle mass lowers your metabolism, makes it harder to maintain the weight loss, also can cause those weight loss plateaus, but other health concerns like increased risk of osteoporosis later down the line. But also protein is like the absolute king when it comes to feeling full and satisfied. It raises our satiety hormone peptide YY, which literally tells our brain we're full, we're satisfied, and we don't need to eat. So for a lot of people, 30 grams of protein at each meal is going to be perfect. For others, you might need a little bit more. But if you want an idea of what 30 grams of protein looks like for each different type of protein source, I have a full video you can check out right here. Okay, the third is to combine your protein with a fat. Protein is definitely king when it comes to achieving satiety or that sensation of feeling full and satisfied, but fat is also kind of like its queen. You need protein, but fat helps to support satiety with protein as well. Fat specifically helps to raise our satiety hormone cholecystokinin or CCK, and when you combine these 2 food sources of protein and high quality sources of fat, it helps to make you feel really full and satisfied for usually about 4 to 5 hours. Pure protein on its own is not as satisfying as when you combine protein with fat, which is probably why a lot of protein sources are naturally packaged with fat, like ground beef or eggs or dairy products. But if you have a protein that is lower in fat, like lean chicken or turkey, or if you're using whey protein powder to make a smoothie, it's really important to add in some source of fat to help boost satiety. Great sources are avocado, chia seeds, olives, nut seeds, and various dairy products. Okay, the 4th tip is to make sure your first meal of the day is rich in protein, fat, and fiber. Now, if you're following the first tip of a 3 meal structure, then this kind of goes without saying, but it's really important to put extra emphasis into that first meal of the day. This helps to set you up for success so that you're not going to be hungry all day long, because if you start off with a low amount of protein or too little fat and it doesn't adequately raise your satiety hormones, it's going to make you hungry immediately right off the bat. But with this first meal, you also want to make sure that it's not high in refined sugars or carbs, because these cause a big blood sugar spike and crash, and even if you eat enough protein and fat to feel satisfied, the blood sugar crash can really increase cravings. I have a lot of high protein recipe ideas. If you guys want to check those out, I'll also have them linked up here. An additional little mini hack to help with boosting satiety is also to make sure you have collagen at your various meals, or at least one meal. Collagen, when paired with a complete protein, can really help to boost our satiety even further and help to make us feel full and satisfied. And I personally love doing this with bone broth, like today's sponsor, Kettle and Fire. Kettle and Fire is an amazing high quality bone broth company that's really rich in collagen. In fact, they slowly simmer their grass-fed bones to make sure that they're pulling out as much collagen as possible. They also use organic vegetables and herbs to make their bone broth super tasty. I love Kettle and Fire because it's an easy way to add a high quality source of collagen into my meals and help to make sure that I'm feeling full and satisfied. And I absolutely could make my own bone broth, but especially as a new mom, I just don't have time to be sitting around for hours at a time slowly simmering grass-fed bones. Instead, it is just so convenient and makes my journey so much easier to just have Kettle and Fire in my pantry ready to use whenever I need it. Kettle and Fire comes in a lot of different flavors, but my personal favorite is their original chicken or beef bone broth. It can be used in so many different recipes, but I love using it as the base of my soups, my stews, and chilies. I'll even add it into some sauce recipes to help bump up the collagen of that meal. And Kettle and Fire is super generous. They're offering my community 20% off your bone broth purchase when you use code AUTUMNBAITS at checkout. So make sure you check that out. I'll have the link down description below so you guys don't miss out. Okay, the 5th tool is to eat low glycemic load carbohydrates at most meals. The glycemic load is a measurement of how much a certain type of food is going to raise blood sugar levels. And the higher glycemic load a food is, the higher it raises our blood sugar levels, and therefore the bigger the blood sugar crash. And blood sugar crashes can lead to increased cravings, increased hunger. So obviously we want to have those stable blood sugar levels instead. This is where I like to stick to mostly low glycemic load foods. This is going to include a lot of the non-starchy veggies, so like broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, carrots, and pretty much all whole fruits as well. Depending on the carb sensitivity, some medium glycemic load foods can also be added in for stable blood sugar levels. These include things like some beans or lentils or sweet potatoes. These foods, especially the low glycemic load foods, tend to be higher in fiber, which also helps us to feel satisfied from our meal faster because it acts on the stretch mechanism of the stomach, which also tells our brain we're full and satisfied. I have a full blog post with all the details of glycemic load, medium, low, high, so I'll have that link down description below so you can have an exact written down list of different options. Okay, the sixth is to cut out all or at least most added sugars. Added sugars not only lead to more of that spike and fall behavior of our blood sugar level, which can then increase cravings, but it's also just addictive by nature. And about 14% of adults have food addiction. So even if small amounts of added sugars aren't necessarily going to have a huge impact on blood sugar levels, it could trigger food addiction in some that makes it really hard to stop eating. Okay, the seventh tip is to have mint tea. Now this one doesn't necessarily stop hunger, but it can really help with cravings. And that's because mint is a natural appetite suppressant. So if you've been in the habit of always having a dessert after a meal and you're not necessarily hungry, but you have like a little bit of a sweet tooth, then having mint tea after your meal could be really helpful. I like to just take fresh mint from my garden, but you can just get like fresh mint from the grocery store, boil some water, pour it over, and that's it. It's very simple. Okay, the eighth tip is to go for a 10-minute outdoor walk. Hunger and cravings can also be stimulated by stress. And if you don't have complete control over these stressful things in your environment, what we can at least do is help to reduce the stress as it comes. And there's been some research showing that spending about 10 to 15 minutes outside in nature can be really helpful for reducing the stress hormone cortisol. So you can try going for a 10 or 15 minute walk around a park or at a beach or a lake or whatever natural environment you have close by whenever you're feeling stressed. Okay, the ninth is to sleep 8 hours, which is probably the trickiest tip for most people, but getting bad sleep actually increases our hunger hormone ghrelin and literally makes us feel more hungry the next day. Plus it increases our stress hormone cortisol, which increases our cravings for sugary and starchy foods. So getting really good high quality sleep can be really helpful for reducing hunger and making your weight loss process so much easier. One helpful tip that I like to do to improve my sleep quality is to make sure I'm not watching TV or looking at my phone at least 30 minutes before bed. This helps to make sure the sleep hormone melatonin can naturally go up. Okay, the 10th tip is to cut out trigger foods. Like I mentioned earlier, some foods are addicting, and especially for about 14% of adults who suffer from food addiction. Now, specifically what research is finding, it's likely the ultra processed fats and carbs that are the biggest culprits for addictive foods. Eating these foods and incorporating them in your diet make it really hard to listen to your own body's internal satiety cues. It actually bypasses a lot of these satiety hormones. So even if you're also eating those protein, fat, and fiber rich foods, these ultra processed foods can hijack your hunger. So common examples of these ultra processed fats and carbs would be pretty much anything in the center aisle of the grocery store. Obviously there's some caveats, but things like potato chips, corn chips, various sugary cereals, cakes, donuts, all would fall under that category. Thankfully, you can make really delicious, satiating meals that help to shut off hunger and make you feel satisfied. In fact, you can check out some of my favorite really easy recipes right here. Also, if you're new to my channel and you love this science-backed information, make sure you subscribe right here. Come out new videos every Tuesday and Thursday. All right, guys, thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll see you in my next video.